Good afternoon. Welcome to the Weather Gurus podcast, the afternoon update, the 5 p.m. update for tropical storm, Ian, and the guidance. The guidance has shifted a little bit east, but the fact still remains that Tropical Storm Ian has yet to develop an inner core. Winds have actually come down to 45 or 40 miles an hour as of the latest advisory of 5 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center. So let's get the positioning, and I will go over the pros and cons of Ian right now. As of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, maximum sustained winds are at 45 miles an hour. Most of the convection is in that northeast quadrant above Jamaica. Minimum central pressure is down to up to 1,003 millibars. That's up 2 millibars from 1,001 millibars earlier this morning from the 8 a.m. advisory. And the movement has slowed a little bit west-northwest at 12 miles an hour. It was west-northwest at 14 miles an hour earlier this morning, so it slowed down by 2 miles an hour. And it is still appearing disorganized and disjunctured. And so now they've said that it's moving in the area of low shear content, low wind shear, high sea surface temperatures. We get all of that. But if the fact remains that, ladies and gentlemen, if the system doesn't develop a strong inner core as it becomes a hurricane and forms an eye, we just don't have much to go by. We're expecting this rapid intensification. The Hurricane Center has noted that the period overnight, will be the chance where it will rapidly intensify up here. As you can see, there's no dry air up here. The system is moving into that area. And they still have Grand Cayman expected to have hurricane conditions as well as the western tip of Cuba. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But there's a lot of convection you can see here, but there's no center of activity core convection. There's a lot of convection in the eastern side here of Cuba, way up here north of Jamaica. There's a lot of bursts of clouds and convection. Very great, outflow pattern. But there's just no core. So with that in mind, we'll have to continue to watch the system here. It's still peaked by many of the models to get up to a major hurricane, Cat 3 or even Cat 4 here in the Gulf. Obviously, if it can make it to the Gulf in a decent condition, it will definitely be a major hurricane, no doubt. I mean, there's no wind shear and anything until you get to the northern Gulf. There's heavy jet stream influence and all of that, which will weaken the system, obviously. If it does make a landfall, it'll be like a Cat 1 or so. But that's beside the point. The point is right now we're looking at it, and you can see here it's very disjointed. There's no central core. Most of the convection is blown off or sheared off. There's an exposed center of circulation, according to this map, if we're taking it for face value here. And that could mean that the rapid intensification process has not started. And I suspect that the rapid intensification process won't start until after it's officially designated as a hurricane. And that probably won't be till Monday afternoon at the earliest. So that'll be the Monday, probably not the 11 a.m. advisory on Monday, but the 5 p.m. advisory on Monday if it strengthens. Now, the other possibility is the system could fall apart and then go into the Gulf and reform and strengthen into something major. And I think that could be more the likely thing, even though people don't want to admit it. But if you look at this, I'm just looking at the surface map right here. And the Hurricane Center went out there, and the discussion was that the organization hasn't changed since this morning. We've seen this small burst of convection, blah, blah, blah. But the flight level winds are only 35 to 40 knots. So, I mean, guys, we're not seeing this rapid intensification despite the warm water and all the ingredients being there, low wind shear. So what that tells me is that the system is struggling to get together. Its structure is the problem. And you can have all the ingredients, but to have a storm go up into a monster. But until the storm's inner structure, inner core, meaning that you have an eye wall, a hurricane, basically, you're not going to get this massive rapid intensification. Now, whether this is being affected by some southwesterly shear already, that is possible. Maybe it's affected by a lot of there is some dry air above it that's probably affecting it up here by the Yucatan. There is some dry air. So it's not all smooth sailing for Ian just yet, Tropical Storm Ian. And so that's one of the things that we have to look at too. Now, as far as the storm trajectory here, I want to show you the graphic here. They did move it back eastward, but regardless if it's east or west, there'll be some impacts. Obviously rain showers well ahead of the storm for the Keys, for the west coast of Florida, etc. But we haven't gotten into that yet. This is still days away. It's still about 3-4 days away. And this is not discounting the fact that it may get into the Gulf and actually slow down even further if it makes it to the Gulf as a system, as some kind of entity, tropical entity. Because right now it's moving west-northwest at 12. It's expected later to make that turn to the north. And that's what I'm concerned about. From Tuesday to Wednesday, it's gonna, if it slows down, Even though the peripheral high is moving around the subtropical high ridge or whatever that we know that's steering it, if it slows down here, then that becomes problematic for the northern Gulf Coast, anywhere from Panama City all the way over through Mississippi. It becomes problematic for the timing of a landfall, because that could extend it possibly into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, instead of this timeline. So there's three possibilities here. The first possibility is that the system could dissipate and then reform in the Gulf. And I mean, not dissipate, but it not get any stronger. It could remain at tropical storm strength through western Cuba and then get into the Gulf and do rapid intensification, then weaken again before landfall. The other possibility is that tonight, as according to the Hurricane Center, the tropical storm Ian strengthens and does this rapid, intensification, they call it, 35 miles an hour gain in 24 hours, and drop in pressure, 35 millibar drop in pressure in 24 hours, and becomes a major hurricane, Cat 1 or Cat 2 by tonight after midnight. And then the other third possibility is that the hurricane actually does continue northwest and then changes direction and stays to the right of this cone here, and actually curves up and affects South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and makes the turn earlier than expected, than up in the Panhandle where they got it now. And it follows the right side of the subtropical ridge high here. So that's the three possibilities that everybody's looking at right now. It is very possible that that could happen if the storm is a weaker storm, which it is right now. It's not the strong storm that we anticipate. They had said that many had said that rapid intensification would have began this morning, as soon as 6 a.m. the advisories. But as you can see, that has not happened yet. We're 5 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, and we're still dealing with a 45 mile an hour tropical storm that's supposed to undergo this rapid intensification tonight. And expand to a hurricane, which I'm not doubting. I'm just saying that this is the reality of it. We have an unorganized tropical storm here right now. And some of the things, like I said, it has going for it. Once again, we have the warm water in front of it up here. I told you it's 86, 87, 88 degrees. Not a problem there. We have low wind shear, supposedly low wind shear, even though the system is not organizing like it's supposed to. It may be affected by low level wind shear, not in the upper levels, but low level wind shear at the surface ahead of it, and dry air. That may be a factor here. There is dry air that's supposed to be disappearing in the Gulf of Mexico and the northern Caribbean Sea right here, but it still remains the dry air. According to the water vapor, there still is dry air there. So it could be affected by that in terms of structural organization. But we'll have yet to see. So we just have to continue to keep our eyes posted. This storm is moving. It's going to slow down. It's going to be some changes in the track. And so that means that, everybody in Florida and on the coast, and of course, need to be prepared. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that right now, this system does not look like a system that's strengthening for a hurricane at this time. And the hurricane hunters have confirmed that. They've said that they haven't seen any changes in the structural organization, and the winds have come down. It's down to 45 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour really, but they took an average. The Hurricane Center takes an average of the maximum winds, and this is at flight level, okay? So the winds at flight level are higher than the winds at the surface. So we're being generous here somewhat with this system right now. And really, it's really acting like more of a tropical depression right now, because if you look at the structure, there's no closed core low down here at the surface here, as you can clearly see. And most of the convection is sours over here. Look at this band of convection here, south and north of Jamaica. This is on the outer bands, the outer fringes of the supposed center of this system. And so this is acting more like a tropical depression right now. But good outflow. Like I said, you see the outflow spiraling, high cirrus clouds spiraling out here above Hispaniola and above Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. But the internal structure of this system is very much in jeopardy right now. It's in danger of losing a lot of tropical characteristics tonight unless it gets its act together. But like I said, we still have the 11 p.m. advisory, so anything can happen between 5 and 11. If it gets better organized between 5 and 11 p.m. and then overnight, tomorrow morning, yes, it will be a hurricane, probably a Category 1 with 90 mile an hour wind or something, if it can get better organized. But this running out of real estate here has maybe about another 200, 300 miles to go before it gets into Cuba, the western tip of Cuba, and the Gulf of Mexico here. If it can get into the Gulf, like I said, once again, it'll be a more substantial system, a major hurricane then, and then it'll run out of real estate before it can become any more stronger, because it's going to run into heavy wind shear from the southwest, and that jet stream coming across like that in that trough is just going to blow it apart to basically a Category 1 minimal hurricane, and maybe even a tropical storm again as it makes landfall somewhere from, it can be anywhere from Cedar Key all the way over to Mobile at this point, according to the projections here, their chart that they've shown here, guys. So I just want to show you some of the projections here. Don't take it lightly, but the intensity is in question here. This has it ramping up into a category 3 in the next day or so. But right now, we don't have anything to indicate that besides we see the conditions, like I said, warm seawater. But the problem with this is, like I said, it's the structure of the storm is not there. You have to have good inflow and outflow. What I mean is outflow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, right? Above 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 feet. Then you have to have good inflow. You have to have good convection around the center with very cold cloud tops, and we don't have that. We have some cold cloud tops here, but not very cold cloud tops here. And honestly, it looks like it's still being affected by that northeasterly shear coming in off the top. Its system started out in shear. Remember, if it formed back on September 23rd, it started off with heavy northeast shear blowing across it. This looks like this thing is still being affected heavily by, this time, not northeast shear, but if you look at it closely here, you can see it's actually southeasterly shear here, disjoining this system here. So it looks like we have some more southeasterly shear blowing on at the mid level and lower level, maybe not the upper levels of the system, but in the mid and lower levels, we have a southeasterly shearing component up top here, just below Jamaica here, that is blowing apart this system from organizing in any meaningful way right now. You can see it right here. I'm highlighting it to you. This band of convection here, just north of the center here, supposedly center, alleged center of circulation here. So we have southeasterly shear coming in that's blowing apart all of the thunderstorms away from the center and leaving it exposed. That's not a good sign. Now, this is supposed to relax, according to the Hurricane Center, and that's what they're saying. At midnight, the next 11 p.m. advisory, they should start seeing this rapid intensification that everybody's waiting for it to grow into a monster before it gets into the Gulf. Well, if we don't see that, then the system's going to continue to struggle with this shear, and we may have to start looking at the warnings that we have for Western Cuba and the Western Cuba, Rio de Pinar, and the Isle of Youth, and Grand Cayman warnings. I guess they may have to be downgraded to a tropical storm warning, because I just don't see that happening right now at 11 p.m. I'll bring you the latest updates coming up at 11 p.m., but I just want to tell you that this is what we're seeing right now with the system. The pressure has come up, so that means the winds have come down. When the pressure comes up, the winds come down. When the pressure goes down with the system, the winds come up, as you know. So that's not showing any type of rapid intensification right now by any standards, any stretch of the imagination. This is like a tropical depression right now, but it's still a tropical storm according to the Hurricane Center. So we'll leave it at that. So we'll see tonight and we'll see tomorrow, but keep posted. A lot can change. Obviously, the track is going to shift left to the right of Florida because the system has a fixed center. When it doesn't have a fixed center like this, it's wobbling. It's wobbly. The center, the supposed fixed center of separation, is wobbling west to east right now. Northwest to west right now. So northwest of due west, and that's the problem right now that we're having with this system. So stay tuned for the latest. Thank you for listening to Tropical Storm Ian. I'll be back later on tonight and tomorrow for the updates to see whether or not this becomes a hurricane or whether it stays a tropical storm tonight. So stay tuned. I'll talk to you very soon. This is the Weather Guru. Be sure to subscribe for the 100% analysis, true analysis of what's going on with the system, using the latest data that we all have here with the National Hurricane Center and Tropical Tidbits and all the other sites that everybody else uses as well. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.